Hello again. Our 11th story, Magic, number 11. Angie, caregiver, sacrifice, victim. 3 years I have given to Father. He was injured in a work accident, and I took on the role of caregiver as if it was all that life had to offer. It was all I knew. I ran his home as if it was my own, even after he was back to work. As soon as he was able to, he found a woman. And now the only home I have ever known is no longer mine. I feel adrift in the sea of life with no buoy to help me anchor. My father is the most recent of my patients. My mother was before that, and she had cancer and was bedridden for the last 2 years of her life, unable to self care. My father's accident was in her last months of life. For a short time, they were both in their beds, and I ran the home. Now I know that it was never my home. Before my mother, it was my grandmother, and before her, my grandfather. Before my grandfather, it was an uncle, and I helped my mother care for them all. Before the elders became sick, it was my younger brother who got polio when 5 and was never self sufficient. I was the oldest of 6 and have been giving care since the day number 2 child was born. It is all that I know, to be of service and care for others. It is no one's fault but my own that I find myself at the age of 37 with no life of my own. I have worked 7 days a week, every week of my life, and have nothing of my own to show for my work. I live in a time when a woman who does not marry stays in the service of her family for a roof, clothes, and food. Now I see my only home going to a woman who has taken over my father and his life as if nothing existed for him before she arrived. My health is not good. I am overweight and unhappy. I am dissatisfied with life. I am a single woman with no children, no man, and no home to take care of. It may be that it is time to share some of my care with myself, but I have no idea where to begin. I have been offered a room over the barn and must accept since I have nowhere else to go. I look back at my life and the decisions I have made. I know it is through my choices alone that brought me to this place. I keep asking why I made the choices I did. I see it was fear that prompted me to stay where I thought it was most safe. So here I am with time on my hands like never before. If I stay too long in my room, I will go crazy, so I take off into the hills every morning and walk until I want to sit. I have aimlessly walked for a year and have discovered who I am. Really, it is who we all are that I believe I have seen to be true, for we are all one in the end. It is not the role any of us play, it is not the gender or how much we own that determines who we are. It is no one's job but our own to discover the meaning of life. Although I have not lived an interesting life, I have watched others and have learned by seeing. Now I have learned from silence and turning to my spirit within. My truth is that this life, with all of its bits and pieces, is a path to love. There is no purpose greater, no truth that is more than love. In this, I see the worth in the life I have lived. For each act of kindness I did was bringing a little of God to the living. At the same time, every time I showed impatience or disapproval, expected a return from my service, I participated in the human experience of free will, showing the way to truth by giving an example of what it is not. At some point, most of us tire of the suffering and start looking for something different. Others stay in suffering their entire lives and never realize it is just a habit they developed in response to life's bumps and valleys. I can say in one breath that I have not hurt another in this life. I was afraid of anyone's disapproval. On the next breath, I admit that I have judged and disapproved of others every day, and it was hurtful, even in silence. How can this be true to have such opposite opinions of one's life experiences? The first perspective is from my mind, where I do not want to criticize my expressions, instead, wanting to justify my decisions. The second perspective is from my heart, admitting that any judgment is separate of love and brings suffering. The point being that when we serve, it is not the act that we perform that matters, but the way that we serve. We are all called to serve on our spirit path, and we all serve differently. There is no service above or below another, and any judgment is misplaced in this path of love. So, how do we stay in love when there is so much else going on around us? The only answer that I have found is self love, the root of love placed deep and strong within self. If I love my own being, then when I am in contact with another, I will be sharing a life moment from love. It is when I am in fear that I cultivate the suffering. Self love is not taught, and I believe this to be the greatest mistake of humanity, as well as the greatest gift given to a young person. The balance of true wellness comes from living in love with me representing the human part of self, which allows the spirit self to show love to the human self. The reversing of this flow allows my human self to love my true spirit self. Many refer to this part as the higher self. It is this flow of love that brings our purpose in coming here to fruition and feeds our soul, mind, and body. God's love manifested on the physical plane is what the creation of earth and life on earth is all about. So I am now a spinster dedicated to loving myself. My loving choice has brought my life into a new phase. It started with the children at church coming to me on their own. Next thing I knew, I was running early church for the little ones. My choice to love meant I had to accept and be content with my life, even if it was simple. This place within self is what brought these sweet children into my life. The older generation was next, and my happiness grew. One of the ladies owns a large home in town and has invited me to live there with her. I loved moving out of the barn and into a real home again. I accepted the invitation in part because of her love of children. Between the two of us, we have an open door policy to the children of our town and have been having a great time. The mothers followed their children, and most days we offer tea at 2 o'clock for all the mothers before school is let out. It has been a wonderful time of community, and I enjoy my days like never before. I have seen men looking at me for the first time and feel my love towards myself waver. All the old thoughts of ridicule and dislike from others and myself come crashing back. Recently, I have returned to my daily walks in nature in order to process this growing I am experiencing. This new understanding of the truth about love has served me well, and I will remain in it as much as I can. It is so hard to believe that this most basic truth is not common knowledge. So every day, that is what I do. I find ways to serve up love. First, I get a big dose for myself in bed before I get up by feeling the love God offers at any time. I visualize how wonderful God believes me to be, and by doing so, I feel a tremendous flush of love flow through me. Although my religion has no female God, I believe that she is there loving me like I have seen all new mothers loving their child, enamored and completely in love with their new baby. There are no conditions or qualifications of behavior. No success is needed for her to love completely. Carrying this feeling of love into my day, I then share with everyone I meet. I recommend this practice, this choice, for what better way is there to spend our day? Gathering room. Angie. Angie brought forth more of the violet, a true sign of the balancing that comes from self love. The presence of the balanced energy being brought to this soul work was an encouragement deep within my heart space. The tightness that had remained in a corner of my heart, hidden away, was expanded, and the flow of energy came whooshing in. Wow, what a woman. Well, I guess that was me, but I am so glad to see her strength and choices. That is so practical and perfect in its message. We have to learn to love ourselves even after decades of abandonment and disapproval from others and ourselves. We have to believe we are worthy of love. She did not question her worthiness like I have. I see how not believing in myself has dragged these lessons into a drama instead of a comedy. Together, Raziel and I share a gentle chuckle. In full acceptance, we see the humor instead of the tragedy. Another example of how simple the choice really is. We turn towards the screen together.